the demand of the president to call his appointees to order, to have them back off, there's a big question out there that will the president listen to you and see this demonstration perhaps in the light that you see it and order his appointees to back off?
I'm confident the president would come to terms with our demand and do the right thing.
In terms of an expected time period for which you're confident that this can be done, do you have that time frame in mind, considering all of the things that have happened and the justifications that have been coming forth from the government?
Our demand is effective immediately. Immediately.
Effective immediately. Honorable.
Seize all processes, completely unnecessary, skewed to just gift a strategic asset to a member of government.
There are those within the opposition who say this is perhaps a hallmark of some sort of this particular administration when it comes to the sale of state property. Is this something you share?
Of course. The evidence points to that. And they've done it in a very horrible way. They drove private people and state organizations out of a site, dig a hole for $58 million and left it. They have also been taking out government officials from their houses and selling their houses, allegedly. They have invested $25 million in Pullman Hotel by Platinum Properties through the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund and left it at the airport to rot. This government does not have any intention to get value for money of the people's money.
Right. Honorable, there's one subject that I want to move you away from. Still has to do with demands from the minority with your leadership. We know last year there was a protest, a big one at that, in relation to some losses which were posted by the central bank. This year again, we've seen 10 billion cedis in losses posted as well. Last year when you went to demand the resignation of the central bank governor, that did not happen. We've seen yet losses again. What is the position of the minority on this? And Ghanaians still remember a promise of you going back.
Inshallah, in 6 months' time, 7 months' time, all this shall be history. And the right thing might be done by President Mahama. And all those who participated in deliberate losses, sale or gifting of state properties will be held to account.
So you say December 7 is perhaps the biggest demonstration that could happen from your perspective?
December 7th this year will be the biggest demonstration of how people feel about Akufo-Addo and their government.
Thank you very much, Honorable. That's the Honorable Governs Kwame Agbodza. Is a minority chief whip and also the member of parliament for Adakro. Let's speak to Mr. Oko Vandapuije, who's also been pivotal in this particular protest up until this point. Honorable, talk to us about the points that you're seeking to make today and make quite strongly in relation to the sale of these hotels.
We are doing this exercise in support of the workers of this country. The workers of this country, their toils and blood have contributed to the building and the securing of these hotels. And today we won't sit down to allow government officials to allocate these hotels to people of their choice. That decision rests with the workers, and we should stand off it. You know, let the workers of this country take matters into their own hands and to handle it.
Workers must take matters into their own hands. There's been conversations back and forth as to the composition of SLIT. Perhaps I'll ask you this question first. The workers are of the opinion that, look, too much government interest controls what happens to workers' pensions. What do you make of that argument and that opinion that continues to come up every now and then from the Labour group?
Well, right now we see that this decision is not in the best interest of the workers. You know, the hotels that are being sold are doing better than the hotels run by the individual who wants to take his hotel. So comparatively, let it stay where it is, because he's doing better than what he is doing. Yeah.
Honourable, thank you. That's the Honourable Oko Vandapuije. He's also the Ablekuma South Member of Parliament, a former Mayor of Accra. Let's go to the Boku Central MP as well, the Honourable Mahama Ayariga, and pick his thoughts in relation to this as well. He's also a legal professional, and so perhaps we'll be able to help provide some legal understanding as to everything that's happening and get an indication from him. Honourable, many thanks. You're live on TV3. I presume you also as well have a position in relation to this particular protest, and we've just seen the General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Abikwete, as well, come to pick thoughts from him. Honourable, talk to us first off, pleasantries being exchanged. Talk to us first of all what you have made of the entire process. There are some who want to make the argument that in terms of the valuations that's been made, the argument made by the Honourable Okujetua Blakwa, it fell short, and so perhaps they shouldn't have proceeded even in the first place.
Well, I mean, that's the point. The point really is that the pension scheme already is in danger. The actuarial reports that we are getting indicates that in the not too distant future, the scheme may not be able to support pensioners. And so you don't want at this time to be stripping the scheme of its strategic assets, what will bring it revenue to be able to pay people when they go on pension. And so the idea of even selling an asset is really not called for. And of course, assuming even that you need to sell the asset, it must be sold for its right value. I don't believe in selling it in the first place, no matter how you value it. I just am against you selling it. So long as there's evidence that the hotels are making good money, they are breaking even, they are keeping Ghanaians employed, and at least the state or the pension scheme has it as part of its asset that it can fall back on in times of danger. I don't believe that they are at that dangerous point where they need to be selling their assets in order to pay pensions. And so there's no need at this time to be liquidating such assets, except if people have ulterior motives for liquidating the assets. And that is what we are fighting, to protect the assets so that it is not sold.
You make reference to that actuarial report by the International Labour Organization. SNIT has responded, but there's been a school of thought, particularly amongst labour groups. There's been suggestions that, look, let's break up SNIT because it's not being run well. Some also make the argument that, look, people are deliberately, or successive governments are deliberately mismanaging SNIT so as the pension of workers can be handed out to private individuals. Where do you stand in all of this, considering the trajectory upon which SNIT has come up until this point, and also this decision to sell, in your words, strategic assets?
Well, I mean, the point really is that you can make all sorts of arguments, but the most important thing is that you need a viable social security scheme to take care of people when they go on pension. You can have a mix of privately run schemes plus state-run schemes, but whatever type of scheme you have, you must hold the managers of the scheme accountable. Whatever happened in the past, we in this generation must stand up and hold the managers of the schemes accountable. I don't think that the answer of today's corruption and mismanagement is to say that in the past there's been corruption and mismanagement. The answer is to stand up to today's corruption and mismanagement and fight it and prevent it from dissipating the assets of the pension scheme. We've seen what happened in the past, and because we've not stood up to them, that is why it happened the way it happened. We of this generation must stand up, fight for the schemes, so that in future when we go on pension, we can count on those schemes.
In terms of the work that can be done in Parliament, it's one question that will come up. What is it that Parliament can do to safeguard SNIT in terms of its operations? Yes, it's entrenched by a great extent, this social security, hence all employees must pay the first year of pensions to SNIT. But how do we protect it beyond protests like these? What work can be done? Perhaps will be a question on the minds of Ghanaians looming large.
It is the responsibility of every Ghanaian that makes a contribution to the scheme to stand up and fight for the scheme. It's not a simple question of Parliament. You know how Parliament gets partisan, divided along the two political parties. The issue really is, do you see that a strategic state asset is being taken away or not? will it affect your pension one day or not? And